My name is Tasif, and I'm the founder of Random and Famous. Today's guest is very special. He's TEDx speaker, runs coaching programs, and a strong believer of family values. Please welcome Michael Vaz. Michael, thank you for joining me. It's a great pleasure.
Thanks, Tosif. Thanks for helping me, and thanks for supporting, and thanks for having me on this podcast.
Sure.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. So I'll just kick off and go with the first question. People who don't know about you, just tell briefly about yourself.
Okay, perfect. Well, I've been in hospitality, considering when people talk about profession, hospitality has always been a profession. But more than that, I've been in leadership and learning and training people for the best part of 20 years within that hospitality sphere. And I've had an absolute pleasure to work with some of the best brands on the planet in terms of hospitality. So I've been really privileged and blessed to be in incredible organizations, leading at global level, traveling the world before this whole COVID thing has hit us. And besides for that, I know you mentioned family values. I always hold these things greater than anything I've ever done. I hold God and family kind of get first place in my life. So 20 years away from Goa, which is kind of my birthplace, and 20 years in the corporate world, in the leadership world, working closely with incredible people, and excited to now take that first leap of faith and do things on my own as I branch out this year.
Yeah, great. Michael, you have your own brand, Michaelvaz.org. What was the inspiration behind that?
So it seems vain and arrogant considering that's my name. But the whole idea was never having to go out there and sell. You see, in life and in business, I always believe that, and I think it's across the world, this is a very easily known fact. People get the job sometimes because, yes, they've done great in interviews, but they got that interview because somebody spoke to somebody. And relationship, in a way, is a bigger currency than actually doing a great CV, or the relationships you build in life will always take you far. And for me, I've always prided myself on just making incredible human connections with leaders I've worked with organizations I've partnered with. It's always the people that remember you. So hopefully, when the name Michael Vaz, by the grace of God, will always be remembered as somebody that lifts people, somebody that energizes, and that's what I want people to remember. So I always say, the people that call me to work with them, to partner with them, will always be people I've worked with before, or have experienced it in some way, or have experienced me leading a session for them. So I thought, what better, instead of creating another brand and name, what better than to just put the value on relationships, people I've worked with in the past. So That's where I went with that.
No, that's great, because I was looking at your profile, and you are the Genos certified person along with your partner, right? And you
that's right,
the companies to energize their culture. And so how that works?
So what I've always kind of and I always consider it a blessing. I never take these things for granted, because I think I've been really blessed with the gift of being able to energize audiences. Through public speaking, I place a great deal of emphasis on getting people to invest in learning how to speak in public, because that takes them a long way. And I've had the pleasure of coaching senior leaders through that as well. Now, the idea was, because I have this gifting of being able to energize an audience, I used to really capitalize on working with teams, right? Taking a leadership team and really kind of energizing them before they open a particular business, or maybe a new brand or a new hotel. And those sessions that I used to do with people, and I still do with people, and with teams, it seems to just radically transform how they think. It gets them aligned, it gets them pumped, it gets them ready to build something great. So I place a great deal of emphasis on that, on sessions like that. So I always encourage people. And I know for a fact that the best organizations on the planet always place an emphasis on doing things like this almost every year. So almost every year, the best organizations in the world will take their leadership team on a bit of a retreat, a bit of a disconnect, and to connect to things that really matter. So it's a disconnect from the world to connect to the vision, to connect to alignment. So I'm happy to be a big part of that. So people will call on me and say, Mike, can you come in and facilitate 2 days for us? We want to do our strategy for the year. We want to do our vision for the next couple of years. We want to bring our team together. Sometimes there's new people. And those new people don't always fit in right away because there's always a forming, storming, norming, performing that a team goes through, right? So I'm the guy that actually tries to get them through those 4 stages in a couple of days, bringing them together, working the kinks out, getting them to align on their strengths, and getting them to set a vision that, you know, all of them will contribute to. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about.
Yeah, interesting. So people who are watching this, public speaking is an art in itself. So if someone wants to take a note from here and wants to be a speaker or wants to be master themselves in later, what would you say? What they should do?
So I think a really good idea is just watching. There's so much great content out there, incredible content. In fact, over the last 2 years, such a big emphasis has been put on the amount of content people are creating, right? But there is good stuff on YouTube, and there is free stuff. I would just, you know, as the most simplest form of doing it, I would just say watch the greats, watch people that flow, watch speeches that, you know, have had impact. And nothing like getting up and trying. What I've started to do, Tosi, in line with what I'm doing, I set a very clear vision for myself, and that was to help people believe better so that they can live better. So what I've been doing is starting to create these little pieces of content, 60 seconds, reels on Instagram, reels on LinkedIn, and I put them up on exactly topics like this: how to be a better public speaker, how to get better results starting tomorrow, how to have a better work week. And I absolutely love that. So, you know, if people want to come into the ride, if this is the podcast somebody's watching today, I invite you to just come on that ride with us. We put up free content like this all the time, and 60-second hacks. People are always looking for those hacks, and there are hacks.
Yes.
There are hacks about before I go on stage, what do I do? So I have a 60-second hack of how to transform your presentation in 5 seconds, you know, and it's just wonderful that things like this that I would encourage people to just come, follow, be on the journey, because it's all free. And I'm doing that just to help people to believe better and have better results in their life. Just a way of giving back.
You know, I fully agree with that. And I think consistency is the key. You have to be consistent. If you keep doing it, the results will come. And that's what we all forget about it because of various, we are busy and we've done it for once, twice, and then there's a big gap. And then
absolutely,
and then we complain. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Consistency, keep doing it, and the results will come. I will touch something else here. You put a lot of emphasis on becoming better in every area of life, starting with health, well-being. And I was reading your profile. You had this very bad accident, back injury in 2014, when the people told you you're not going to get out of it, but you completely healed from it. Tell me about it, how it affected and how it's changed everything for you.
Thank you for asking about that, because that's not an area that I normally talk about. But, you know, the whole idea of this, probably almost over the last and this year, was being really authentic and putting out things that have really happened to you. And as we talked before this podcast as well, you talked to me about how, you know, people can be in a dark phase of their life. That certainly happened to me in 2014 when I was told that this injury, back injury, that by the way came out of nowhere, just came into my life. And a lot of males, I was told that about 6 out of 10 males on the planet suffer from a back injury of some sort after the age of 30. And believe it or not, the doctor looked into my eyes and said, look, this is just something that happens. It's a lower back injury. And he told me about the condition. And he said, you just have to live with it and manage your pain. And the pain was insane. So it used to put me out of circulation. I couldn't even lift my kids. I just had a 6-month-old at the time. I couldn't even lift her up because it would be that excruciating. And it would come on for a period of 2 weeks and I'd be flat on my back. But I was completely healed from it through believing right. And that's why I place an emphasis on believing right. Because a lot of the times, if you accept diagnosis from a doctor, and again, no, I've got nothing against doctors, obviously, they're here to help and heal and support. But if you believe everything, those are the results you get in your life. It's as simple as that. See, our brains believe everything we tell them. Our brains are designed to think like that, and we can use it for greatness, or we can use it to just spiral out of control. So if you believe wrongly, and if you just buy into a bad diagnosis, then you live your life the same way. You live your life and manage the pain. But I really believe, for me, faith really helped. So faith in a good God, that God is good, and that I can be healed from something like this, and that So I really started to believe in the power of God being able to heal me out of this. And nothing short of that. It was just literally, it was healed instantly by believing right,
And
by believing that, yeah.
yeah, and is it also about the mindset? You have this mindset where you can say,
100%.
yeah, yeah,
100%, right? But it's always that belief.
Mm,
And that's exactly what, if you fill your mind with the right beliefs, then those will produce the right results. So if you wake up in the morning and you believe that life sucks, it's going to be a horrible day, everybody's against me, then you operate out of those paradigms. Your
yeah,
behavior operates out of those paradigms. So if you wake up in the morning and you just literally have this thought in your mind that it's going to, life's going to suck because everybody's against me. And you will not believe the amount of people today on the planet that will wake up and have this thought. But it's a lie. It's a false thought. That is absolutely not true, because I read a beautiful fact recently that said, even if 99% of the planet don't agree with you, that's still like, I think 73 million people that do agree with you. And I love that, because it's so beautiful, right? We fail to think. We have this mindset sometimes that's completely fake, and they're completely lies. But what you got to do is come against these thoughts, and start to believe better. And that's my whole premise: getting people to believe better, to believe that they've been created and put here for a purpose, that they have a unique set of strengths. This is what I really want to pride myself on doing: reminding people that they have value, that they are masterpieces. I tell this incredible fact, and you'll love this, Tosif. I tell this fact about, I did this Strengths Finder test. I only use tests that build people up, by the way. I never want to tell people what's wrong with them, because guess what? People already know what's wrong with them. So I want to tell people what's right with them, and let's build on that. So there's a beautiful strengths fact that says, 1 in 33 million people on this planet will have the same strengths as you. What does that mean? That means you're so unique, with such unique giftings that only you can bring to this world. So why would you want to waste your life? It's as simple as that. Why would you want to, when you have something special to offer?
Yeah, no, I believe in that. And you know what? The fact is, we always wanting for our situation to change. Yeah, but we don't realize that we are put in that situation so that we can change.
Absolutely.
You
I
have.
love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
I read it somewhere a while ago, and I believe in that. You have to focus on this, and you have to believe, like you said, you have to believe in yourself with the right mindset.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Believe better.
yeah, exactly. Michael, you are doing so many things. So how do you manage this work-life balance? You have a family, of course. So.
No, I know. I love that. I know a lot of people have kind of changed a little bit of how they see it. Again, it's believing. What do you believe, right? I like the idea of work-life harmony. So instead of saying balance, a lot of people say I'm a different person at work. I'm a different person at home. And while you can look at that and say the behavior is different, you're still the same person. So it doesn't matter if you're at work or you're at home. You try to bring the best into that moment. I would say being fully present in the moment, like when I'm with my kids, sometimes it's a struggle, because when I'm with them, the tempting thing would be to look at my phone, but I know I'm going to lose a precious moment if I do that. If I'm out with my wife and I have my phone in front of me, even though it's just her and me, I'm going to lose precious moments if I'm facing my phone. And these are things that are big distractors of great relationships. So I really feel like if we can change those one or two things, then work doesn't have to leak into date night, and work doesn't have to leak into playtime. So it's really just, being present, being in the moment, because those are building key relationships. I said this to my wife recently. I never want to be responsible for my kids one day prioritizing their phone over their own kids. It's as simple as that. And if I set that example and they're pulling out a phone when they're playing with their kids, then I know I got it wrong. And these are the results that sometimes we see in life, but we don't really want to acknowledge. But it's very true. We got to be in the moment, and the 5 minutes that you play with your kid will count if you're present, fully present. The 5 minutes will mean more than 3 hours.
Yeah, and I think as they grow up, they will realize this definitely. What the parents was doing, and they follow that trend. It's always like this.
Absolutely.
They're wired like this, their brains. So it's really important. It's a very, very good thing you said. Michael, when and what was the first step you took which you can say change your life? Like it could be years ago, 6 months ago, but you said, yes, I'm glad I did that.
Look, I think you mentioned it. The point that you mentioned in 2014, that was life changing for me. Knowing that I could either resign myself to a life of pain or a life of no pain, and actually believing better, got me out of it. I think life changed drastically for me when I started going to and listening to the right people. What that means is, in a world that's filled with, you know, motivational speakers, and people will sometimes call me a motivational speaker, and I don't know if I want that title. I don't know. And I have nothing wrong with the title per se, but my life drastically changed when I started listening to certain voices. What that means is listening to people that the normal world wouldn't really listen to. So people like Joseph Prince, Craig Groeschel, and Joseph Prince is a pastor for an incredible church in Singapore. And when I was there, listening to his messages helped me believe better, and got me out of this lifetime sentence of pain, so to speak. But it was only listening to the truth, right, being preached, that set me free from it. So I believe that has changed my life 100%.
Yeah.
Or 180, just to listen to the right messages, the messages that build your faith, build your strength, instead of just empty words that don't really give you results. If that makes sense. So it's really funny, Tosi, if I put a video out 2 days ago that said, be careful what you watch, because there are tons of people out there putting out content, but have these people really been in these situations? It's like I said, it's like the parent, the person talking about parenting when they never woke up at 2 a.m. with a screaming infant, not knowing what to do. And yet they're writing a book on parenting. Why would you buy the book? It's as simple as that.
Interesting. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So yeah.
And so you have doing so many things, and you have changed your life around. Okay, what message would you give to someone who wants to change their life? They have ideas, but they're scared of taking that first step for obvious reasons. Okay, what family will say, or I don't have the proper knowledge, I'm not confident enough. What message you would give that person?
I did it's a really, probably a little fun one, but it's really, for me, I would say check your BS. And what that means is check your belief systems. Check your BS is...
Yes. I wanted to touch on that. The people who don't know, in 2020, it was, I think, the TedX first virtual event, because we were all in pandemic, and you had this TEDx talk, Know Your BS. And I will put
check your BS.
Check your BS. I will put the link below in this podcast for someone to look into that. And that was amazing. And I think this was one of the most viewed video of one of the videos of that time.
I think it was just beautiful, because instead of probably 300 people in an audience, 5,000 people watched it the first night. And that's just the power of where we are, right? We're in such a virtual world right now. But I think the key messages were just so important, and people wrote to me from across the world just saying, that really helped me, thank you. And I did a series of little chats on it on YouTube. They're kind of Googleable. You can just look through Michael Vaz. And the whole idea was, check what's holding you back. Check if that's true, because there's a lot of things running through your mind. Sometimes our brains can have up to about, I think somebody said, about 60 thoughts at the same time. But 60 thoughts is a lot of thoughts. And it means it's sometimes pulling you in different directions. What if I fail? What if? And I'm not saying to people that, that they shouldn't calculate. It's always good to calculate the risk and say, okay, can I do this? Right? There's nothing wrong with that. I will never condemn people or knock people for approaching it the way they want, with a bit of wisdom, with a bit of knowledge. But check your beliefs. Check what you believe, and ask yourself, is that really true? Why, if your brain's telling you, oh, you're going to fail, why would I fail? What is the purpose? And measure that with actual truth. Maybe I do have something to give the world. Like I said, your strengths are so unique. I want to remind anybody that's watching this, your strengths are so unique that you never have to, you never have to worry. You always have something to bring to the planet. You always do. I remind people in this video that they forget sometimes that they're born a champion. What does that mean? It's a biological fact. They won a race before they even born. They were even born, and they won a victory before they were even born, and they don't know it. So they've forgotten that they were born champions. And it's true, because how do you come into the world? You come into the world because you were the one survivor. You come into the world because you ran a race, and you were faster than the others. So it's a really fun one to think about. But biologically, you were actually born a champion. Every one of us is. So we all have something to contribute. But how sad it is that there is all these thoughts that sometimes talk us out of great destinies.
Yes, that's correct. Very well said. And just a quick one. So many people are inspired with you. Yeah. And who do you inspire with?
Thank you. Thanks for asking that. Look, for me, I'm constantly inspired by preachers like Joseph Prince. There are others as well, as Leon Fontaine, but these are names that are not out in the conventional world. They're just, they're more in the spirituality and faith world. Now that's big too right now. Spirituality is big. People are watching, people are listening, people are hungry. But I really believe it's listening to the right people. And again, I'm not saying that everybody has to listen to it, but I know that it's changed my life. So I will keep listening to people that, that are lifting me up, people that are, giving me the right results. I also read, for me, reading different books, reading the Bible has been a big source of my own inspiration. And that's just me, really kind of looking through it, getting lessons from it. So yeah, that's my inspiration, daily inspiration.
Yeah, no, that's great. And do you need a mentor, or everyone needs a mentor, would you say, in their life at some point? And do you still have one? What would you say?
Look, I think I love that question. I often have heard that question. And I would say that while I don't think I had the traditional mentor, I started to have one over the last couple of years. Probably the last 3 or 4 years, actually. So while that may not have been true for me earlier on in life, I think we always have people that are strong relationships. And I think that's really key. Having people in your life that are doing what you want to do is really key. And if that can turn into a relationship, a friend relationship, mentors actually are friends that you can count on, that you can call anytime. These are mentors. It's not all. I know companies tend to create mentor programs or whatever, but mentors are actually people you want to call and say, hey, I'm going through this. What do you think? Yeah, so for me, I always say pick the areas of life that you want to do better in, and then find somebody who's doing better in those, right? And if you have somebody in your life, great. If you can make a connection, great. But I don't want to place too much emphasis on you have to have a mentor, but I say have many mentors if you can. Have many friendships that are there for you in the areas you want to grow in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense completely. Michael, thank you so much coming and giving your time and joining me on this podcast. I'm sure someone will take a positive note from that, and that's the whole idea behind this podcast. Once again, really appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Joseph, I've had a great time. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the insightful questions.
You're most welcome, and I'll see my viewers in the next episode. Thank you, and bye now.